and I will just share a little perspective before I talk about my view on hotels and my view on what happened in December. Um, First and foremost, I want to iterate that we need to start looking at the cup from being half full. Demand for hotel obviously exceeds supply. Um, what demand when demand exceeds supply, what you see is that the suppliers um, start to misbehave, right? Because if you don't want it, the next guy will pay for it. Um, and that has been a constant thing that we continue to talk about. That as a businessman that I am, I see it a lot differently. I see the opportunity for us to invest um, heavily in hotel. Because if demand, then if supply then exceeds demand, that means the amount of available rooms exceed the amount of people that want to actually take your rooms, you're going to offer better service to attract better customers. And because, look, if you don't take that room, somebody else will pay for it. The room is not going to be empty. That notion is why suppliers behave the way they do. And I just had a long conversation with an investment company. And one of the things that I told them is we need better conference centers. We need better options when it comes to conference centers. It cannot just be one conference center in the whole state, particularly in Lagos. That is the only option for us to use for concerts that can hold 5,000 people. It becomes a scarcity mentality. And speaking of the scarcity mentality, is exactly how my December went. In our stretch, we have I own Wade Beach, Athena Beach, Kima Beach. We have 2 beach houses. We have an event center, and December this year was particularly more chaotic than it has ever been. We also own another lounge called Under Lounge in Lekki Phase 1. It was particularly chaotic. Oh, we also opened 4 locations across Lagos. We opened one in Egbeda, Ajah, Alausa, and Ikorodu. And I just took my lessons, I took my losses and my wins, and I combined them into one win because the customer behavior that I noticed in December was particularly super interesting. We opened a place in Alausa that didn't do well. We put children recreation. We had to take a new center. We promoted it. We pushed as hard as we could, but it didn't do well. The mainland customer still wants to drive to the island to come and enjoy the beach. By the way, at the beach business, I had no chair. We got to date. We had invested a lot of money into buying more furniture, additional furniture, to accommodate more customers. But there were days where they were actually, I think, for like 15 days straight, when we had not enough furniture to hold the amount of demand that we had. And I tried my best not to raise prices because I just know that is because my economics knowledge tells me that's what I'm supposed to do. When demand exceeds supply, you raise your price so that you can reduce the demand a little bit and you can capitalize with upsides. But I didn't do that. I didn't raise prices. Wave Beach, which had 5,000, Athena, which had 10, Kima, which had 20. We didn't raise our prices. We kept our prices the same. But the demand surge was insane. Like, were days where I could not make it to my own business because of traffic. There was a day I was in traffic for 4 hours because, again, the infrastructure to get there. I invested a lot of money to do roads via the coastal road. I interlocked an area that I could afford as much as I could. I did a full stretch. But even with that full stretch, the demand was just a lot. I'll talk about the foreign customer and the local customer because that's always something I like to talk about. Is my demand in my business is not driven by foreign people. It's driven by local people that want to actually go out and have fun. I respect the local customer more than I do the foreign customer. Um, um, the local customer, that is the people that reside whether in Lagos or in Nigeria as a whole, drove majority of our business in the month of December. They just wanted to bring their children out to have fun. They wanted to bring their children out to have a great time. They wanted to bring their family out to see the beach and to see water, to see recreation, to play on toys. And we had a great December. One of my key learnings that I'm going to correct for next year was, number one, buy more furniture. for sure. Number two is we can't necessarily prevent the traffic that happens in December. There is no shortcut around that. We can argue and talk about building roads. Is how do I smartly create alternative routes to get to the beach? That's how I think I can double my business next year, because without access, I don't think there is a lot more that I can do. How do we open up new access? How do we rethink our access point to the beach business is what I think can drive us. Another thing is supply. We could not get our hands on good supply as we went down the road. And being able to think about supply from the month of October, not even November now, to start thinking about supply. My biggest supply problem was water. In the month of December, we sold about 100,000 bottles of water in my network. And if you just think about 100,000 bottles of water, think about how many cases of water that means. We could not get enough supply. There were days where we were telling customers that we had no water because our supplier could not just keep up. It now begs the question that, and I continue to say, the opportunity that how do I rethink water? Because water, like I always tell folks, that is my singular most profitable unit of anything I sell, not alcohol, not space, it is water. How do I make sure that I get the good access to water? It is hot in December. How do I make sure I get good access to at least 200,000 bottles of water in December? Again, another problem that I had was staffing. Staff where we just abruptly quit on us. We could not find enough people to work. People continue to complain in this country that there is no job, and then the challenge is that we can't find enough people to do the work. Was a challenge. And I think I'll stop there. Maybe open for questions. And maybe somebody can guide me on direction that you want me to talk about. But it was super interesting month for us. I did not invest in entertainment this year at all. I believed in doing nothing was more profitable for us, and I was correct because there was so much entertainment happening. The folks doing entertainment wanted to charge a leg and a ham to even come perform or do anything in our space. So I decided to just hold the line and just sell my space the way it is and use light band and things to do any form of entertainment. So, and that's how we actually were able to see significant revenue, because sometimes it's a mirage. You see all these people, you see all these monies. By the time you pay your vendors, pay everybody, you find that you're not even as profitable because the pressure on your facility, you have to use bigger generators, you have to use more diesel that you did last year, that you did the month prior. So those were the lessons that I took from the year before, and we applied this year. I don't know if anybody has questions. I'm happy to answer if I hope I've given some level of clarity to Detty December for us. Conclusion is the mainland customer wants to come to the island to have fun. They actually want to leave their houses and go somewhere else to have fun. They want to leave their environment. We wanted to bring the fun closer to them. Now, maybe if I had the capital to stay there for longer, I can have a longer test period to say maybe it was awareness, maybe it was this. But what we saw is that the customer, and by the way, we're charging 5,000 in Egbeda. And the customer will argue with us that we should take 3,000 or 2,000, but then those same customer set of people will drive to the island and pay 10,000 to go into another spot. The mindset of the customer is just super unique when it comes to spend and entertainment, and being closer to them didn't work for us. I probably never repaid it, to be honest with you, because I think we lost. I did take a loss of about 200 mil on that project, on that experiment. But again, I called that experiment. I did 4 locations. I would have probably done VI with all that money, and I'll probably make that same amount. I'll make probably more because the customer just wants to leave and come to places they don't visit often to show their children another part of the world, and because we're targeting the family side of things. And that's what we saw, and that's the reality. I saw another person ask me a question around wages. It wasn't a function of wages. I pride myself on making sure that I pay people gainfully. Most cleaners get paid 40,000. We pay 80,000. Our waiters make 150K. Our minimum salary for waiters, runners is 100,000 to actually I think it's 150K. Salary is what we pay. So we give free food at our facility in December, all through December for 30 days. We give free meals. Most of them don't go home, so they don't need transportation. They usually hang around the business. We have some level of accommodation for them within the business. So we give them water during the day, we give them some drink during the day, and they have food. And to be honest with you, I don't know if anybody here works in hospitality and they do as much as we do. To be honest,
I think that question, I would have wanted you to ignore it, because we understand there is a problem about training, about hospitality standard. It is a training problem. It's a cultural problem. It's not just at the beaches, all across, at the airports, everywhere we have a problem with service. So there are people at the airport who are paid very well. I do know that. And I saw the shambolic. I told one lady, I'm going to report you to your MD. I saw the shambolic attitude they have. Once there were so many passengers, they just crossed there and allowed the passengers to go wide. So I don't think it's about wages, because I know this company. I know how well they pay. And I saw what the staff were doing. So, but what I want us to look at, if the demand keeps going, does it mean that we'll charge ₦1 million for our economy class ticket? Does it mean that Bayo will now charge 50,000 naira to admit people because it doesn't have seat? But I want to take on a leg so we can talk the airline figures. Then I'll come back. We have to have a longer time to dwell with you, because not only are you in travel, you also have those hospitality outlets, different parts of Lagos, so that we can actually understand how we can plan. The essence of this program is to plan well for 2026. You're already saying you're going to get chairs and the rest of them. Are there other suggestions that, as a nation, we can put in place to make sure that we get it better this 2026? I want you to end with that.
Yes, and can I just say this? And I'm learning how to be politically correct. So I will try to be politically correct, but I'll also talk to you as a businessman. As a businessman, I'll be honest with you. If demand exceeds supply, we would have to raise prices. That is the reality. Everybody should get a grip of that. We cannot continue to complain about it. If we only have 300 seats, somebody will talk about humanity and talk about that. We should understand that people are in this business to make money. And if I am in the business to make money, I have not made money all year round where I was flying 50% capacity aircraft. And in December, I have 200 people that want to fly 100 seats. I will raise prices to maximize my return, because I use that to cushion the impact of when I am not full. So you cannot just look at me and in one season and judge me, because you have to look at the losses I took to continue to have that service available to customers. Yes, you're correct, Mr. Ikechi. We will charge more if demand continues to rise, and there is no increase in supply. So for everybody listening to me, we should all look for ways to get involved and invest our monies, or encourage people to invest, so that there is more supply. Without the lack of supply, I'm telling you, everybody will have to raise prices. I'll give you one example and I close this, because I see that everybody's looking for figures. And my sister talked about suya. My suya guy used to do about 30 rams a week. In December, I was doing 200 rams a week. It got to a point where the people that we buy ram for had to come and visit us, because they think maybe we are doing sacrifice or something. We're selling ram like it's going out of season. And we had to raise prices to draw back the demand, or else we'll keep running out. And that's how we made more money, right? And we have to understand that the laws of demand and supply in the capitalist world is actually real, and that's how we maximize and make money that allows us to stay alive in low season. Because in January, a lot of businesses struggle to pay to pay salaries. I know people that have not been paid in the month of January. Even us, we did not make enough money, because we're still carrying the wage staff into January, because we expected the demand to slip into January. In January, to pay salaries was tough in January. I must confess, it was tough for my hospitality business, but we paid, because we are a responsible business, and we took profit from December to pay January staff. And we have to let go a lot of people, because the demand is gone. And it goes away by 50%. So when you think like that, you know that this business is not for the weak. It is a lot of permutations and combinations that allows us to stay in business. Thank you.